Hello, I'm Toycat, and the latest Minecraft 1.20 beta has an amazing feature because you can finally edit the text on signs. Can you believe that? By itself, it's an amazing feature, but then you can write on the back too. Wow, that is absolutely nuts. And also in this beta, they introduced a brand new structure, which is pretty wacky, with 5 new armor trims, 16 new types of pots, as well as a brand new redstone mechanic that involves amethyst. Oh, and also those flowers from Roger Badgerman's leak, they're in the game now too. There is so much to go through in this beta, and you better believe I'm going to be doing precisely that, because that's what we do here on this channel with these update news videos, and you can subscribe to see more of them, but we're going to jump straight into it. And so let's start in one of the most interesting places, because they added suspicious sand and suspicious gravel, confirming that that is where sniffer eggs come from, and those are available on Java alongside a new plant. However, both Java and Bedrock got these new pottery shards, and it's interesting because there's 16 of them, and despite having 16 new types of pottery shard, it might be one of the smaller overall features in this particular beta/snapshot. Really tells you how big it is. But yes, 16 brand new pottery shards means we now have 20 different faces that you can put on a potter. And that is a huge thing, by the way, because that means the number of unique pots we have goes up from, I think it was 64 before, to actually now we have 20 by 20 by 20 by 20, or about 160,000 unique pots. And so yeah, you can craft these just by getting the new pottery shards and throwing them in like this. Wow, isn't this very easy? And then you get a decorated pot. Add this to the pile alongside this. There's 20 different faces now. My personal favorite are the heart and the heartbreak. I think you can tell some really interesting stories of this, but you could also just like that you got a pet and you can remember him, put his ashes in there, or pretend to at least. And I really love the variety that we have in the pots. And this is the 20th one for the sniffer, which is kind of nice. I do think the, I think the decorated pot is a really good idea for someone. I think they, just the idea of them does make a really nice building block, but I fail to see how I'm going to personally use it. I mean, my best use case scenario is this. Welcome to my home, by the way. Wow, isn't it? Look, well, welcome in. Hope you enjoy it. Oh, here's the story of the time I found treasure and then a creeper led me to heartbreak. I think that's like the best I can do, and ultimately I think even then, you get a better situation from having two-faced signs, which you can now totally have. And so I think, yeah, ultimately there is some value in this update. Also, yeah, I've got a house behind my house, so I was trying to get some light in here, but it doesn't really work if there's something back there. Anyway, yeah, I think these aren't actually the most useful feature, but they are a really good part of exploration, and they're going to be a fun little coincidence that you'll get when you're archaeologing around alongside some new other features. But yeah, I love that this update is all about repurposing existing places. So Ocean Ruins get the big buff because now you find sniffer eggs there. Obviously, there is the new archaeology site which is being added to, but a lot of other structures are being buffed too. One of these is the amethyst geode. Amethyst geodes and the amethyst they provide is going to be extra important for 2 reasons. One, the amethyst shards themselves can be used like so. We're going to just quickly show you the recipe for a calibrated skulk sensor. This takes a skulk sensor plus 3 of the, you can see it right there, I don't need to explain it, and it makes a slightly different, like a skulk sensor. This will face in a very particular direction, which means it can only receive inputs from that one. This is useful if you don't want to, well, I mean, it's only meant to receive directions from one, but when it comes to amethyst at least, this is really handy when combined with the new blocks of amethyst. As you can see, these blocks of amethyst will now resonate the signal, which means, in other words, listen to the sound the skulk sensor makes when I play it. Did you hear that? It bounced off a few times. So noise can bounce through an amethyst block to other skulk sensors, through other amethyst blocks to more skulk sensors, which means that if we take just our simple redstone lamp contraction, previously we could have motion that would turn that on. We could also do it with this, I guess. Wait, does this only put out redstone in one direction? No, it's all directions. Anyway, so we could have a redstone signal, which is basically whenever noise is made, the lights turn on. Or you could do the opposite, have them all turn off. But now what we can do as well is we can move that signal over some great distance. And so if we have a piece of amethyst here, and then we have an amethyst here, then we have a skulk sensor here, an amethyst here, and then, I don't know, another skulk sensor there. Then we put a redstone lamp over here. Look what happens when I move around by this skulk sensor. It will send the noise over to that amethyst, through that amethyst, into that skulk sensor, and over into that final skulk sensor over there. That is absolutely magical to watch, and you can do this over huge distances, or realistically, as huge as your simulation distance allows, and you can make some really great new redstone contraptions. But the fact that this is just the tip of the iceberg here is what really makes me excited excited about this. So the way this works is it's calibrated to a particular redstone frequency. If you put a redstone signal into this block, it will only listen out for that amount of redstone before doing its frequency stuff, and it is only, as you can see right here, it's not hearing me because it doesn't have the right redstone signal. And the interesting thing about this particular block is it's not naturally generated. It is only crafted from the skulk sensor and the amethyst, which means the amethyst geode gets a new use because you need the crystals to craft this, and also the deep dark has another reason to go there because all of this combined will lead to some very fun things, not just silly redstone lamps turning on from a distance. Much more complex redstone is now possible if you're willing to dive into it. But it's not the only buff the deep dark has had, because there's a new armor trim found exclusively over here, and let me tell you, this is exciting because the existing armor trim was already so rare. The ward armor was generally considered to be one of the hardest ones to get because ancient cities are not common and they're not easy unless you excavate them, in which case they're quite calm, they're very relaxed, and you don't have to worry about the warden so much. But for most people, this is a terrifying chance, and so having a 5% chance of getting the ward armor trim made this a real flex in Minecraft. But they just added a new harder one. It's called the silence armor trim. So everyone but Toycat has to be silent while wearing it. Those are just the rules, and you've got a 1% chance according to King Bee Dogs. We haven't seen exactly how the maths bears out in the real game, but it's 1% chance if he is to be believed, and that is insanely low. The number of the ancient cities you're gonna have to go to on average, let alone potentially, to get your hands on this is gonna be nuts, but it looks so cool on armor. Or rather, I would say it's the most trimmed of the armors. This is definitely the insane flex, the one that shows you are a survival madman, right? And yeah, that's why I figured if it looks more like emerald armor with a diamond trim than diamond armor with an emerald trim, could you use this to your advantage and look weaker than you wanted to? And so I put an iron trim on the netherite using this silence, and as you can see, it sort of does the job. It's very hard to be sure that's netherite, and if you did the same with diamonds, you could probably trick people in that way. And is that a good idea? I mean, it really depends on what your definition of good idea is, doesn't it? I mean, is this a good idea too? Ultimately, usually not, but I do love this new trim, and I think it's pretty cool, but it's not the only cool new structure thing, because ultimately, as great as the Deep Dark and the Ancient City is, it's not the new structure that just came out in this update, which we'll have to jump to Java to see. So, oh no, the salmon, they're going to start shrinking in size and being all uniform, but we're gonna have to do that so we can check out 23W12A. So both Java and Bedrock do have access to these new trail ruins, which by the way is the third Minecraft structure that has ruins in the title, has to be said. But these trail ruins, a lot of people have very strong opinions about how they are when they see them in their fully uncovered form, which to be fair, I think they are undebatably quite ugly in that way. However, if you are to see them in their, also look at that, we just got a new trim already. If you are to see them in their normal form, which is to say, kind of just poking out of the ground like this, it's more of an encouragement to go exploring. You can totally dig your way around here and ignore the suspicious gravel and sand. Wouldn't really recommend doing so, but yeah, you can dig around this place and basically find a lot of old school blocks, but I think that's, you know, like that's why this place looks the way it does. It's not really meant to be fully uncovered. I think in the same way an ocean monument looks ridiculous on the surface, this is a ridiculous collection of old blocks from old builders. They've got some weird lore going on behind this that we'll have to dive into once they like finalize and talk about this more. But yeah, this is definitely an incredibly intriguing place, and it's also a great way to get yourself some pottery shards if you want those, some armor trims if you want those, and maybe even some emeralds or some diamonds. Who knows what you'll get? All I know is you'll have a fun time exploring these. This is the dig site, also known as the Trail Ruins. There's nothing in here about libraries, unless there's some enchanted books in the drop table that I just haven't seen yet, and so that makes me wonder, even after all of the stuff we saw in today's snapshot, you know, we'll talk about what we might be seeing later in a second, because yeah, there are new, you've already seen the sheaf pottery shards, you've seen all of the pottery shards, you might not have seen the brand new armor trims. And to be totally honest, you don't really want to. They're okay at best besides silence, but that is not found here, only in the Deep Dark. If you want to find these four, you can in the dig sites, and they are going to be armor trims, technically speaking. I kind of like Wayfarer, but even then, I'm not like huge on it. I just think it's fine. So yeah, overall, this is this new set of trims Thank you to Agent MS to save me putting them all together, because there's too many armor trims to bother putting it on everything now. I honestly feel as though some of these armor trims are just there to make the other armor trims look better. Like Shaper, I'm never going to use that except if it's my only trim, but that's not actually a bad thing necessarily. I'll tell you what's definitely not a bad thing though, and that is going specifically archaeologing around the ocean ruins. It's interesting because it was hinted when the sniffer first came out, the way you'd find him would be in these chests right here, and although, you know, that's a fun idea, the actual fun idea is in using the suspicious sand found down right as you can see. Wow, you might find wheat if you're really lucky, and if you're really, really lucky, you might get one of these sniffer eggs. So look at this item in my hand right now, and imagine what it's going to look like when I place it down. You know, this is the egg that will eventually grow the sniffer. Please have your imagination, because I absolutely love what it actually is, which is a sniffer egg block. It looks like a giant turtle egg, to be honest, except you can't jump on it to make it go away, and I honestly love these as a, you know, honestly, it's like a building block too. Like, they will eventually hatch, so it's a very bad building block, but I absolutely love this as a thing, and honestly, how can you not? And if you do get the sniffer, now he'll lead you to not just one flower, there is the torch flower. We've all seen it, it's a way to get orange dye, but we also have a second type of flower that Roger Badgerman died for our sins to show us. It is the pitcher plant, and so this is the exact same plant from this image, which implies either I just haven't seen them because I'm really stupid, or there's a second plant that is coming, or a third plant, I guess, that's coming at some point. And honestly, this is the interesting thing. Like, if they'd have just, I think, when they introduced the torch flower, they had this ready. That's how it could be data mined, or whatever, you know, Roger Badgerman did. It's unlikely he's an employee based on what we've seen. So, given that this was in the game at the same time, I think they're deliberately releasing things a little bit later to bring the hype, and it's honestly working. This particular snapshot on beta, think about it, right? It has 5 armor trims, 16 pottery pots, a brand new structure, even if it's the weirdest and in some people's opinion ugliest one. It has so much going for it, and that's before you talk about sign editing, and it's a great way to build more hype for this update as we come into the months before its release. And honestly, if Mojang is getting better at, you know, releasing the features they make rather than blowing their load all at once and then having run out of it, I think that's honestly a good thing. And so yeah, I love sniffer eggs. How can you not? I love the picture plant, and by that I mean I like it a bit more than the torch flower. Actually, no, I don't even think that. I think I like it as an option. It makes the torch flower more special because now it's better than something else. Is it good otherwise? That's probably a bit more debatable. Also, fun fact, you can brush TNT, but it won't do anything. Just like how you can brush your teeth and you'll find that it's good for you, or so dentists would have you believe. But similar dentists would have you believe that this update is just about done now. And although that you shouldn't ask your dentist for advice about Minecraft updates, in the same way you shouldn't ask me for advice about your teeth, I'm literally British. The interesting thing to mention about this particular one is I think we were 98-99% of the way there. I think we are clearly, we finally got to the point where the update all ties in together. We have a bunch of these last features. You know, the sniffer egg is essential. This trail ruin was essential. All of these little features are very, very useful. By the way, you can place trail ruins everywhere. So if you want to place structure, ruin trail, right? If you want to do that, by the way, here's all the here's all the structures of ruins in there. You can place it right here if you want. You can place it in the ocean. When you place them in the ocean, things get real weird. But to talk about this update as a whole, I think okay, let's place one right there. As you can see, it's a lot more visible when they spawn in oceans. I had one spawn in my river, the one at the start of this video. That was a legit spawned in one. And yeah, I think the overall take is they did a much better job on when they released what they released in this update. Like, for example, I think it was really clever to release most of the armor trims at first, and then release these ones later. Because although these 4 suck, like I said, now there is a new best one to aim for. You might have picked your favorite visually from the first 9, but now you have a few that are easier to get than those kind of hard to get 9, and one that is much harder, so you have something to stretch for, something to settle for, and then you might have a favorite as well. That is a good thing. If they accept that a lot of players are looking at updates through the lens of snapshots, and they kind of filter things a bit that way, I think we get a better update as a community, and that is what I see this as. I see some really cool features. You know, should we play some more of these? I'm curious enough. So as you can see, the variety is relatively high. except for the fact that it never looks good. It's never, this is the one structure where there's no situation where you're like, oh, it makes sense there. Like if I place it in the top of my savannah mountain over here, it's also going to be just as confusing. Or like, actually, let's see if we can do that. Let's place it on a little island to see if it like kind of sticks over the edge, maybe. Okay, it's not doing it. Okay, let's try up here. We've got a very small island, so if we place right there, aha, there we go. So this is a Trail Ruins, what it actually looks like. And yeah, honestly, you know when I did those videos where I made a house out of random, well, I let comments build a house? It looks a little bit worse than one of those. It looks like someone tried to build a big salmon and they messed up. Which, to be fair, all Java players are constantly doing great. But yeah, this update is huge, and honestly, I think this is the sort of snapshot or beta where you can miss the smaller changes that go by the wayside. But the fact that Redstone players are happy, Explorers are happy, people who just like weird things to flex with are happy, ultimately means this is a good Minecraft update, in my opinion. So far, I'm liking what I'm seeing, and I'm excited for the next, you know, like 8 or 9 weeks as we get closer and closer to release. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Can you really see the moon and the sun at the same time? Interesting. Thank you very much for watching on this wonderful vernal equinox. If you did enjoy this video, you might enjoy something a bit wild I'm doing tomorrow. So I realized, you know, I'm one of the few like people who have speedrun both Console Edition and Bedrock. I've temporarily held the crown as being the first fastest on both editions, but I realized I never really play multiple editions back to back. And so I figured, given there's 3 major versions of Minecraft, why not try a speedrun where I try to not only, or rather, why not try and beat Minecraft, but beat it on all 3 editions in a row. I'll be using a random seed, so I can't even choose it and just find the easiest one for each. I'll be using a random seed for all 3 versions and trying to beat the game as differently as I can to show how the different versions work. If you want to see me play Console Edition, Bedrock, and Java all in the same stream tomorrow, come join me for my last stream for a week or 2 because I've got to go back to Vegas to deal with some things that are some loose ends to tie up over there. It sounds like I'm committing murder, and you know what? Maybe I am. The only thing I won't murder is people who are subscribed to the channel, because statistically 99% of murders, greater than 99% of murders, happen to people who aren't subscribed to the IBX Toycat channel. You can do with that information what you will, but you know, this might be your view. If you don't take that into a, you know, like, I don't think you can just threaten murder. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Have a good day, or don't. Bye.